Deep beneath the earth, a group of miners clings to life. They are trapped in the darkness of a small tunnel and know that from this location, there's no way out. With no food or water, their last torch died long ago. No one remembers when. They don't even know how long they've been down here. Days, weeks, it doesn't matter. The unending thirst, desperation, and premonition of death torment them more. They need a miracle to survive. None of the trapped miners expected their shift would end like this when they entered the Lengede iron mine shaft in West Germany on October 24, 1963. In this video, we'll be exploring the horrifying Lengede disaster, so stick around as we uncover the truth about this tragedy. Miners are used to the challenges that come with working deep below the surface. But when faced with an unexpected disaster during their shift, even the pros can panic. 2 hours into their work at 7:30 p.m., the mine plunged into darkness, and the conveyor belts came to a halt. Initially, this disruption seemed routine, as similar incidents had occurred in the past due to power cable issues. But moments later, an unsettling gurgling noise reverberated through the corridors, growing louder by the second. The source of concern became clear when a train driver discovered a torrent of water and mud rushing through the tunnels. A sedimentation pond above the mine had collapsed, inundating the underground passages between the 200 and 330-foot levels with 18 million cubic feet of muddy water. This presented a nightmare scenario for the miners, who swiftly made their way toward the only escape route available, the ventilation rises. Ventilation rises, designed for airflow and temperature regulation, became the miners' lifeline equipped with ladders as per safety regulations. At the same time, an alarm had been sounded on the surface, and emergency calls were made before the telephone lines broke. The entire site mobilized to evacuate the miners and seal the leaking pond. Trucks unloaded rubble and wooden blocks into the pond to stem the water flow into the mine. Meanwhile, air compressors worked tirelessly to supply compressed air to potential survivors, preventing further flooding. As night fell, the water stopped rising, thanks to the high air pressure maintained by the compressors. While workers on the surface battled to contain the disaster, miners emerged from the ventilation holes. Out of the 129 people inside the mine, 79 managed to escape, leaving 50 men still trapped below. Despite the challenging conditions, the miners were committed to their code of leaving no one behind and started another rescue operation. Within 5 hours of the accident, the management established a command and control team for the rescue efforts. Heavy equipment arrived from neighboring pits and various parts of Western Germany, signaling the commencement of a challenging rescue operation. But amidst uncertainty about survivors, one question was on everyone's mind: where should they focus their search efforts? The search for trapped miners began with survivor statements detailing their locations when the water broke in. Engineers used floor plans to identify potential refuge spots. Aware that every hour counted on rescuing the trapped men, rescuers took immediate action. After 3 drilling attempts, rescuers located 7 trapped miners. The following day, the group informed the control center that the water level had dropped and they would attempt to escape on their own. Without the knowledge of the command team, a group of miners equipped with searchlights entered the flooded site to meet their trapped friends halfway toward the exit. With the help of a makeshift raft, the group successfully escaped, saving 7 people. But 43 miners remained trapped, and management estimated that no more than 4 could have survived the flood. The challenge now was pinpointing the exact location of a potential air bubble where the remaining miners might have taken shelter. Rescuers faced the difficulty of making guesses from the surface and performing search drillings for 2 days. Each hole was equipped with microphones to listen for signs of life, but initially there was only the noise of dripping water. On the 3rd day, a distant knock was heard during the rescue operation. The estimates were accurate. A group of workers was trapped in the air bubble. While the group was initially of 4, one had drowned after they escaped to an elevated part of the corridor. The 3 surviving men built barricades and opened compressed air pipes valves, preventing further water ingress. Luckily, the water stopped rising due to overpressure, providing the miners with a small portion of the tunnel to await rescue. Relief flooded the trapped miners when the tip of the search drill appeared over their heads after 3 days without contact. They received drinks, food, light, and clothes from the surface. But their wait wasn't over yet. They had to wait for a large bore drill to create an escape hole. On November 1st at 4:30 a.m., the drill successfully broke into the tunnel. Careful not to disrupt the overpressure in the air bubble, the trapped miners withdrew to the highest point of the tunnel. Around noon, a specially designed rescue capsule called the Dalbush bomb was lowered into the mine to assist in the evacuation. Inside the capsule was a rescuer tasked with helping the trapped miners enter the 15.2-inch wide capsule. Even as the end seemed near, the recovery operation for the trapped miners was far from easy. Having spent a week in a high-pressure air bubble, a considerable amount of nitrogen had mixed into their blood. Returning to the surface too quickly could lead to nitrogen bubbles forming in their bloodstream, causing life-threatening decompression sickness. To address this risk, rescue drills were fitted with a chamber to prevent pressure loss. After being successfully withdrawn to the surface, all 3 miners spent 3 hours in the chamber, undergoing a gradual decompression. The outcome of the operation was highly successful, with the trio saved without severe injuries and reunited with their families. But just a week after the rescue, the fate of the remaining 40 workers seemed sealed, as the mine was underwater, making it challenging to recover their bodies. While the mining community and the country mourned, some miners held on to hope, believing in the possibility of more survivors. Contrary to this belief, the site director and the head of the rescue operation had lost faith, citing the lack of room for air bubbles in the entire mine plan. Unknown to them, the miners knew of one more place where workers could have hidden: the old mine. The old mine was abandoned in 1963, but became the refuge for a group led by Bernhard Walters when the flood began. With their exits cut off, the abandoned section was their only option. Despite the danger posed by the unstable ceiling, the miners had no choice. As they entered, the water followed them, but only to a certain point. Unfortunately, not everyone managed to escape, and once the water level stabilized, the men found themselves trapped in an old, unstable mine with no food or fresh water. Fortunately, they had their helmet lamps, making it easier to navigate. However, as time passed one by one, the lights went out. In their moment of misery, Walter later described that the trapped miners could do nothing but huddle together. The sight of the lifeless bodies of their fellow miners floating just a few yards away intensified their distress. These were comrades with whom they had shared the joys and sorrows of their work, and now they were dead. It became clear that it was only a matter of time before they, too, could suffer the same fate. Meanwhile, on the surface, a final farewell was being organized, with a funeral service scheduled for Monday, November 4th. As the village prepared for the funeral, a few persistent miners continued pressing the director to drill above the old mine. Reluctantly, the director gave in, agreeing to a final attempt, although he doubted its success. The intended drilling location on the railway tracks posed a problem, so the team moved the drill a few yards to the side and began the process. Luck smiled upon the trapped miners when, accidentally, the team hit the spot at 6:45 a.m. After 3 hours of drilling, they heard repeated knocking signals from below, leaving everyone shocked. There was no time to celebrate. The miners had been trapped underground for 10 days and desperately needed help. Drill crews, rescue teams, and doctors who had left the site were ordered to return. Through an inner hole in the drill, 2.2 inches in diameter, a rope with torch paper and pencil was lowered so the miners could report their situation. In the old mine, there were 11 survivors, but sadly, 10 miners lost their lives due to falling boulders and a tunnel cave-in. Throughout the day, a special tube was installed to send down essential items and food, gradually increasing their calorie intake with light, low-salt meals. Unfortunately, the most stressful period was yet to come, a 4-day wait for the rescue drill to finish. On Thursday, November 7th, the rescue rig reached the tunnel of the abandoned old mine at a depth of 183 feet. The Dalbush bomb was lowered with 2 rescuers to support the evacuation. By the end of the day, all miners were brought to the surface, with Bernard Walter being the last to leave the old mine. The shift they started on October 24th ended after 336 hours. The brave survivors were ecstatically welcomed by their families, who had mourned them just a few days before. Everyone wondered how these men survived for 2 weeks without food and water. So what do you think? Was it just sheer luck that they survived? Let us know in the comments down below. If you liked this video, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.